take a little bit of humble pie and not sell so hard and things are so good. Things have never been so good. That's not how Canadians are feeling.
The media is not happy. Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. Today we've got one of the largest unions complaining that the media is being criticized. Can't have people complaining and criticizing the media in our country on social media. We've got young Canadians struggling to get jobs. We've got a young Canadian who was kicked out of a university simply for a conversation. We've got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. We've got Kirk Lubomov posting this. So this story I showed you a couple days ago, $120 million of our money being sent over to Sudan. He's pointing out here, well, we've got Canadian military personnel left scrambling after cuts to out-of-country allowances. Changes came into effect April 1st. The personnel say they are seeing reductions of between $1,000 to $1,500 a month in allowances linked to their out-of-country military service. We don't have money for our military, but we have $120 million to send to Sudan. As he says, despicable beyond words. Yeah. And we've got this one here from the Reclamaire. The Canadian government forecasts that inside a 2050 net zero future, they will have both 100% reduction in emissions and 10.7 million barrels a day of crude oil production. This is apocalyptic fiction being sold as virtue. Will Canadian press ask any questions? Surely it's green oil because we decarbonized it, right guys? This is hocus pocus fantasy here that we're going to keep increasing our oil production, yet we're going to be net zero. We're never reaching net zero. And we got Melissa with this one. Canada just signed an MOU that basically suspends or defers the debt repayment by Ukraine to 2030. We were told the money is just a loan. Remember those times? Today they agreed to push that repayment date to 2030. I doubt that money will be refunded. Elbows up. Yeah, this is a way to just give the money. They're just going to keep pushing it and then eventually say, you guys just keep it. Canadians don't need their money. We love having giant deficits that ruin lives over here. We got Mario posting this. The CRA once again giving money to fraudsters. CRA has just paid out another $5 billion tax refund. The woman claims she made $10 million in foreign income, no verification. They just processed it and paid her. Now there's a pattern: $40 million paid to a fraudster, no verification; $37 million paid to tax scammers; $5 million to Quebec Body Shop that had $242K in revenue; $5 million to this BC woman today. Conservative MP Delshell said it perfectly. They don't conduct a serious assessment for any cases involving millions of dollars, but they harass hundreds of thousands of Canadians over a few $1,000s. This is why they're coming after you with audits. They don't like us, they don't care about us, and they're letting these fraudsters get away with it. The question is now, do they know these fraudsters and they're allowing them to get away with this stuff, or is this just complete incompetence? Moving ahead, we've got Canada Proud posting this. We've got 5,000 young Canadians here lined up at Calgary Job Fair as the Liberals continue importing temporary foreign workers.
People facing one of the toughest job markets in years.
It has been quite hard, to be honest. A lot of applying, a lot of online applying.
I've applied for over 100 companies, and so far I haven't found any for an interview.
High school students and recent grads struggling to land that first job, trying to make the right impression in person.
If I could get in front of an employer, I think I'll be able to articulate myself better.
New job numbers from Statistics Canada show the unemployment rate among 15 to 24-year-olds is sitting around 14%. So far this year, the country lost roughly 95,000 jobs, more than half among young people.
Summer jobs, summer interns, co-op students are probably less of a priority or not being hired this year as they used to be in the past.
One of the challenges for younger workers is Canada's slowing economy. Older workers laid off from their jobs are now often competing with youth for the same entry-level roles.
There are less entry-level opportunities available because more of the senior seasoned staff are forced to take on those responsibilities and have the business operate at a little bit of a leaner level.
This Western wear store is getting ready for its busiest season and has already seen an increase in applicants.
There's a lot of eager kids out there that are wanting to get work.
The job market isn't expected to improve just yet. Employment site Indeed says the number of summer job postings are down 11% so far compared to this time last year. Ina Sidhu, CBC.
Yeah, it's not going to get better for 3 years until we get rid of Carney. Ask them what political party they support. Moving ahead, we've got this one from Blacklock's reporter. Media seek curbs on critics. This is coming from a Canadian Media Guild. One of the largest unions in Canada, newsrooms, yesterday sought federal controls on what people say about media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Government regulations of unlawful and hurtful criticism was supported by 95% of media workers, said the president of the Canadian Media Guild. This is ridiculous. These guys lie on the media over and over and over, and then they get criticized and they don't like it. It's interesting, too, that they didn't seek to control what was said on YouTube. Now, they have the quotes there on Blacklocks, but let's just hear it directly from the Canadian Media Guild. We have Jane Robertson here.
For many journalists, especially women, minorities, and 2S LGBTQ plus members, the toxicity we face online and in person while doing our job is becoming overwhelming. Many are also routinely exposed to traumatic content, tragedy, and leading to high rates of burnout. 89% of members say they need supports in health, safety, and mental well-being.
Okay, we want to talk about mental well-being and burnout. Canadians are burned out from the lying media. I can't with this nonsense. There's a lot to criticize here. We're just going to leave it at that.
We urge the government to support stronger protections through the upcoming Online Harms Act, particularly with journalist safety and mental health as explicit priorities. This would have to be a balanced approach to have harmful content removed from online platforms while not silencing charter-protected rights of freedoms of expression and or limiting freedom of the press. 95% of media workers believe government action is essential to support the media sector. Action like protecting both the Online News Act and the Online Streaming Act. We need you to resist pressure and cohesive tactics in trade negotiations with the U.S. that seek to amend or water down this legislation.
This is just absurd. Come on. These guys lie to Canadians and then they complain that they're getting criticized. That is the Coles Notes here. And if this is affecting our relationship with America, then maybe we should clean up the problem so we don't destroy the relationship with our largest trading partner. The people who are supposed to hold the government accountable are on the government payroll. Yep, that's not the way that democracy works, lady. Time to go back to the drawing board. Most Canadian journalists get kickbacks from Ottawa. I would instead call them the funded rento journalists. Yeah, so these big media organizations, they get a government subsidy for their journalists to the tune of tens of thousands. I can't remember how much it was, but it's a lot. It pays for a lot of their salary. Isn't that communism at its finest? Poor fools who want to spit out lies but can't take any criticism. Sounds like the Liberals. Jumping over to CTV, I got Nixon clipping this one here. Larissa Whaler torching the Liberal narrative. So that's this lady down here, a conservative.
I imagine part of what is informing that, Larissa, is like this new world again that we live in where a lot of what the Conservatives have pitched and are pitching is being adopted by the government. It's not NDP ideas through a deal made between Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. It's like tax cuts that the Conservatives, pushed for a couple of weeks ago and now in a smaller form are coming to fruition. Talk about the politics behind all this, if you could.
Yeah, sure. And I don't envy Mark Carney, who's going to have to manage this massive caucus where some people are going to like this tax cut and some people aren't. But to Pierre Poilievre's point, there's still so much more the government could do. And I watched Minister Hodgson on your show yesterday, and he was selling this temporary measure hard. And he said, the people down to the south, they haven't cut any taxes. Well, Americans pay an average of what would equate to $1.10 a liter for gas. We pay about $1.90, right? And so I think that the Liberals have to work on their communication strategy here a little bit on how much this is actually going to help. To Adam Chambers' point, summer gas gets more expensive anyway. So will people at the pumps actually feel this cut? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I really doubt it. But if you're Mark Carney, I would take a little bit of humble pie and not sell so hard in the House of Commons that things are so good. Things have never been so good. Wages are rising faster than the speed of sound. That's not how Canadians are feeling. Canadians are feeling a pinch at the pump. They're feeling they can't afford rent. They can't afford groceries. He should really take some humility and understand that what he's doing isn't enough. And I don't think that they're going to get that much bang for their buck for what they're selling here.
She is bang on here. And Tim Hodgson, he went on Vassey's show and basically saying, oh, well, America didn't cut the gas taxes. Why should we? And as she points out, $1.10 in America on average, $1.90 here in Canada. Tim Hodgson bragging that they cut the carbon tax, so it drops at 28 cents. Well, just minus that then. Okay, say $1.90. Now you're down to what, $1.62 versus $1.10? Cut more taxes. Carney's industrial carbon tax increased April 1st, added 7 cents. Government mandated switch to summer blend happening any day now adds 10 cents. They cut the the fuel standard, which will get eaten up by the summer increase here. Not to mention they added 7 cents. We're net up around 5 cents or so per liter. After all of this back and forth, cutting some and adding some and switching some, Canadians are not getting a break.
I'm more of a late night guy. Double or double espresso? Double espresso. More stressful question. Actually, no, quadruple espresso. Quadruple. Sorry. Keeps the energy going. Option? Yeah, I've got 2 kids. Right. So, more stressful question. By the way, our son is actually making us coffee in the morning now. That's great. It's like a little butler. Incredible kid. Yeah. Well, most days I'm his butler, but he's doing that.
One must ask, when's the last time you heard Mark Carney talking about any of his kids? He has multiple kids. Doesn't like to bring up his wife either. Jumping ahead, they start talking about property rights in British Columbia, all the reconciliation nonsense. Listen to this response that the Liberal gives here. It's quite telling.
Will the Liberal Prime Minister direct the lawyers to argue that private property rights in Canada must be secure for homeowners, farmers, businesses, and investors? Must be number one.
All right. The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, has been said by some of my colleagues, this will not change private property rights. Reconciliation is our path forward for our country, and we will continue to move forward for both.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. You can't give land title over to the Musqueam, to Cowichan, to all these tribes, and have fee simple title supersede all. Which one is it? And sure, maybe First Nations don't claim people's houses. Are they the ones who taxes have to be paid to? And then thus they can change the rules? They can increase the rates? This puts everything into jeopardy here. Because if they're ultimately the steward of the land, if it's under their jurisdiction, then they can say, as we've seen in numerous places, they can say no more boat docks on any of these lakes, no more this, no more that. They can roll out whatever agenda, whatever they want, and taxpayers don't get a say. Taxation without representation. That's what this is turning into. And if First Nations are the overarching body that taxpayers are then paying taxes to, what stops them from, say, as we see here on Coastal First Nations website, which is not a real First Nations group, it's an activist group. What stops them from saying then, well, every household has to have a carbon credit, a carbon tax? Is your house fuel efficient? Are you recycling enough? Well, then you have to pay a carbon credit. And guess who benefits from that? Brookfield, Mark Carney. Is this what they're doing here? I don't know. I'm just putting this out here. This seems plausible that this is what they're starting to roll out. Why carbon credits? Our coastal old growth forests store vast amounts of carbon dioxide, the trees and the soil, Great Bear Rainforest. It all sounds very flowery and perfect. Meanwhile, this group is funded by American billionaires, and they block our pipelines, hindering prosperity in our own country. Make that make sense. Moving ahead, we got this bombshell that is dropped off of Democracy Watch. Group highlights key facts and dirty dozen loopholes in second submission to House Ethics Committee's review of federal government ethics law. So what they're basically pointing out here is Liberal MP Leslie Church is a member of the Ethics Committee and is covered by the COIA's rules, and she is a parliamentary secretary. And as we look here, which we see here, she has numerous times which she's appeared to the Standing Committee for Access to Information, Privacy, and Ethics. If we look at her disclosure statement, we notice that right at the bottom here, disclosure summary, trusts a blind trust. A blind trust has been established under Conflicts of Interest Act. She has the same sort of blind trust set up as Mark Carney. And on top of that, we can see her spouse is wrapped in with, we search by public affairs, you can see all the highlighted ones here. So last 12 months of employment, her spouse, her common law partner's source of income comes from employment and dividend income from Council Public Affairs. Next 12 months, Council Public Affairs. He's got significant interest in Council Public Affairs, Inc., a government relations firm in Toronto, Ontario. He's the director of Council Public Affairs, Inc. in Toronto. Now, what exactly is Council Public Affairs? It's this here, Canada's most effective, fully integrated public affairs agency. And scrolling down, you can see government relations, strategic corporate communications, integrated campaigns, crisis, reputation management, Indigenous engagement, and opinion research. So initially, I clicked on this, and it doesn't go anywhere. Government relations, effective advocacy means delivering the right message. This is a direct conflict of interest. She has a blind trust. This is her husband's company. She sits on the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy, and Ethics. So all this being blown up here by Democracy Watch. It's dangerously undemocratic and unethical alone to have parliamentary secretaries who are members of executive branch cabinet sit on House committees which are supposed to operate independently of cabinet and hold ministers accountable, says Duff Conacher, co-founder of Democracy Watch. It's even more dangerously undemocratic and unethical when a parliamentary secretary with financial and personal interests covered by the federal cabinet ethics law participates in committees' reviews of that law that is focused on deciding whether or not to close huge loopholes in the law and strengthen enforcement and penalties for violations. This is preposterous. I'll be adding this to the conflicts of interest list. This will go underneath, well, Leslie Church. It's just another liberal here with another massive conflict of interest. Listen to this story here. We've got a girl here who was banned and expelled from the University of Guelph. Why is that? You won't believe this.
I just got banned from the University of Guelph for life. No joke. As a result of your actions on March 6, 2026, this letter serves as a notice of trespass. You are therefore prohibited from entering all University of Guelph properties. This prohibition is in effect for an indefinite period from the date of this letter. What did I do to get banned from Guelph for life? Well, on March 6th, about 7 o'clock, I was in the parking lot with a member of my family. This member of my family started up a conversation with some Middle Eastern girls in the car beside me. That conversation was about the war in Iran, and apparently that conversation was unwelcome. It wasn't said that it was unwelcome at the time, but afterwards we learned that conversation was unwelcome. It was reported, and both a member of my family and myself are now banned. I did not take part in this conversation. I was in fact quite physically removed, although I heard it. I was about 10 feet away, and I still heard the conversation, and as a result, I am banned. Who knew? You can actually get banned from a university for listening to an unwelcome conversation in Canada. This is just great stuff, guys.
She should sue the crap out of this university. I have a feeling the University of Guelph is about to go into the hurt locker. There's going to be so many revolting Canadians going after this crap hole university. A professor at Guelph was fired for calling chips and hummus the N-word here. The proper process would be for the university to get an injunction or a restraining order, but the court would never support it and would probably chew Guelph's head off. So instead, Guelph reverses the onus and makes the victim now bring an application. Pathetic. How is this even legal? All that's going to come from this is no one with any sort of common sense will want to go to the University of Guelph because it's a crap hole run by a bunch of activists. This grotesque administrative overreach and blatant attack on basic free expression at a public university, taxpayers fund these places, yet act like private fiefdoms where overhearing the wrong topic gets you exiled for life. Shame on University of Guelph.